and computing capacity through data centers. Mike, do you agree with all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the way that I like to think about it is building the data center and the large language models and AI as a whole. You think of it like a skyscraper. And so when the LLMs and the data centers are literally the foundation or the basement, and people are out there looking for a return on investment on the basement of a skyscraper where it's going to come from all the upper floors, so where it's really going to come in. But you're already seeing it from Amazon by way of reduction of headcount. And so that's a different issue that's going to come about. But I'm big on the data centers, Kevin. So I'm a big fan of CoreWeave, of Cypher, IREN, Nebulous. Are these names that you're looking at as well?
Absolutely, 100%, because that's where all of these massive processing power has to take place, and that's where all the investment is going.
Already had 2 assassination attempts. Charlie Kirk was murdered. I mean, this rhetoric is still not stopping.
Yeah, well, like, what do you expect from people who replace their religion with politics? Okay, when things don't go their way, like you have like an internal system override and just a complete brain combustion, and like just a devoid of total reality where they're fed into their left-wing eco-structure and they don't hear any sort of counter-argument or anything along those lines. It's going to get worse before it gets better, in my opinion.
Why the hatred? I mean, because they're being told to think this way and speak this way, rather than actually looking at the situation clearly. Just look at President Trump's policies and what he's been doing.
Look at the policies and look at the changes that are being made. Look at
next year, set to build nearly 1.3 gigawatts of new AI and computing capacity through data centers. Michael, I know that you are a buyer here in terms of the data center build out. I want to get your take on where you want to allocate capital in that environment.
Yeah, so just as we were just discussing off camera, I think we just went through a real big sell-off in the AI trade and Bitcoin because of plumbing in the financial markets, right? So first you had the dollar index go from 96 to roughly 101 from the middle of September to the end of October. Then you already had problems in the repo market with the government shutdown. The Treasury General Account went from approximately 600 billion to 1.1 trillion. That's a lot of money out of excess reserves in the economy. And so we are 6 days away from quantitative tightening to go to quantitative easing, as well as hundreds of billions of dollars being pumped back into the reserves. So that first was a rug pull on Bitcoin, and then it cascaded to non-profitable tech, high PE tech, moderate PE tech, and then the rest of the market. Okay, I think we put in a bottom on Friday, and I think some of these data center plays got absolutely destroyed for no reason. And so you have this bearish sentiment out there that we're overbuilding, that there's a bubble. Okay, well, and particularly with the debt these companies are taking on. So if you look at a couple of examples I like to look at is first, you have Boaz Weinstein of Saba Capital. Okay, he's very famous for being on the other side of the London whale trade. Okay, so JP Morgan lost billions of dollars. He did pretty well in that trade. He's actually long the debt through shorting CDS contracts and betting that the risk-off environment we are in this AI data center build-out, the fear is way overdone, and that's from the debt side, one of the most sophisticated investors on the street. And then a name that I love, CoreWeave. Okay, again, a lot is being said about the debt that they're taking on to build out these data centers. Their largest shareholder is Magnetar Capital, which is a very sophisticated debt shop out of Chicago. They're the largest shareholder of the company. So I say there's tons of room to run. I like CoreWeave, I like IREN, I like Nebulous, I like all these, like Cypher, all these pure play data center build-outs.
Well, I mean, the fear is real because these stocks have been in a melt-up mode for more than a year now, and we're waiting to see what the return is. And I put the question specifically to State in the Union come out and say we're not going to pay federal taxes.
Yeah, look, it's an open defiance. It's like basically an insurrection, the same thing you're seeing in Chicago.
More Trump derangement, son.
But more importantly, it's a myth, right? The Fed, like, they get less back than red states do in a proportionality because it's cheaper to do business in red states. So you have a lower cost. So the government's being fiscally prudent by doing things in cheaper states than they are in the most expensive states in the country. And that's why you have this mismatch.
Her logic to me is insane, though. Like, if you disagree.
Your reaction?
Yeah, beats on the core month over month and year over year. And so if you look at that 0.1% month over month in the core, That's a real number you want to be looking at, and that is a good beat that really means inflation is slowing on the producer side, and rates for or odds for a rate cut have gone from 80 to 85% in the last 10 minutes for a rate cut in December on the CME Fed Watch, or the CME Fed Watch for rate cuts. So I think these are good numbers. Again, stale data. Right, this is September data.
Sure.
We're almost in December. We should be looking at November numbers in a week or so. That's not going to be reported before this is the last PCE data we're going to get before the Fed. But everything headed in the right direction. I think this is supportive of a rate cut, especially with the employment data we're seeing from ADP.
Cheryl, you've got more.
Yeah, look, I think we see new all-time highs before the end of the year. It's only a few percentage points away on the S&P 500. You have Google ripping today. There is no AI bubble. Will there be one day? Maybe, probably. We tend to overexpand in everything. So I'd say at some point we'll get there, but that could be a half a decade from now. We're definitely not there right now. I'd be looking at these stocks that just got crushed. They're poised for a snapback. I think we put the bottom in the near term on Friday, and we're off to the races into the end of the year.
I mean, Google ripping today. I saw a story that Google is in talks to offer its AI chips to Meta, NVIDIA, and AMD.
Yeah, look, and NVIDIA is selling off on this, which is insane, because the reason why there are new entrants to the market is because there's not enough supply for NVIDIA's GPUs, right? And once we go from the era of the large language model to the agents and the applications, the demand for compute or chips from Google, Marvel, AMD, NVIDIA, and anybody who can make them, okay, is going to explode on an exponential basis. So there's so much more to go.
Yeah, Google is one of the more heavily traded stocks as well this week. Lee Carter, final thoughts.